Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show for Live Music Friday, we welcome Sopie Et Adam, a duo inspired by many singing traditions like pub songs from England, cabaret chanson from 1940s Paris, 18th century sacred harp singing, and more. They play 33 Hawley in Northampton tonight.
We'll also welcome a new contender in the Tina Turner Memorial Wine Thunderdome, Tip Top Wine Shop in Easthampton.
And before we get to our first guest, a quick dip into the mailbag in response to our Wednesday segment with the word nerd about misheard song lyrics called Mondegreens, well-informed but incorrect turns of phrase called eggcorns, fun mixed-up syllables called spoonerisms, and good old-fashioned malapropisms.
Jill Solom writes, okay, I got two for you. My wife once mistook the line, I'm about to have another blowout in The White Stripes, The Big Three Killed My Baby, as not about to have another mother, which is hilarious because their child has two. And once at a spoken word open mic, they meant to say, you fought the hardest battle, but accidentally said, you fart the hottest battle. That one hurt. I enjoyed this so much. Keep up the wordy nerdiness.
Ben Goldberg writes, here's my all-time favorite from a smarty pants young kid I know. Cell phone towers are called cellophone poles.
In similar veins, Dan Finn writes, self-own instead of cell phone.
Self-own instead of cell phone. And one of our engineers, Bart Rankin, said when he was younger, their son, Jin, decided the chocolate brand should be Godiva instead of Godiva.
And shout out to Scotty McPherson, who wrote in with one we can't share on the radio.
Words we can share on the radio come from a brand new book, The Book of Love, in fact.
Kelly Link's new book, The Book of Love, is out this week, came out this past Tuesday. Kelly is a 413 local and co-owns Book Moon, an independent bookstore in Cottage Street in Easthampton with her husband, Gavin Grant.
Kelly is a Pulitzer Prize finalist, MacArthur Genius Fellow. We just heard from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation as underwriters. And queen of the short story. She's proven how much she can do with just a few words. Her shortest stories, 12 pieces of flash fiction organized around astrological signs, clock in at around 300 words. But with the Book of Love, she demonstrates her capabilities for expansive world-building, complex characters, and intricate plot in a whopping 640 pages, 254 of which I have read thus far, but I'm a slow reader. I was like, I could get to the end by the end of it, but I'm not going to enjoy it if I try to speed read this. I want to savor it.
I'm just going to go back and start it over because I got a little further than you, but not quite. Kelly will be at Book Moon tomorrow, Saturday, February 17th from 3 to 5, signing the Book of Love and her other books, I'm assuming, saying hello and passing out cookies. Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Hi, y'all. Thank you so much. Khalees, I think this is the first time I get to congratulate you on Sir Morian, which we have at Book Moon and which I absolutely love.
Thank you.
Sir Morian is the book that Khalees came out with this summer with Hawley Black, who does this expansive fantasy world-building fiction and was kind of influential in helping you think about making these bigger form, this first ever real novel, right? Is that true?
It is my first novel. And yes, Hawley was a big motivator in the sense that Hawley wants everybody to write novels.
I know, right? She it was a big point in our very small book tour that everybody who talked about this book versus other books, she's like, so what are you writing now? Are you working on a longer piece? And I'm like, no, it's maybe short fiction is just where I live, Hawley. It's okay.
And I'm going to say one thing about the MacArthur Fellowship, which is one of the things that they say when they call you, is they say, we don't really think of this as a genius grant. And maybe they only said that to me. Maybe it was me that they said that to. Everybody else they call and they're like, hi, genius.
Hey,
here's
genius.
some money. But
I would like to speak to the genius at the other end of the phone. Yeah, that's a weighty mantle to have, but it's awesome. And they give you this incredible amount, a grant to do with what you will. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about the book first. It's called The Book of Love. So when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, maybe it'll be a love story. It's coming out around Valentine's Day. But it's so much more than that. What's your way of introducing our listeners and your readers to this world that you built?
The Book of Love begins with 3 teenagers who disappeared from their small coastal Massachusetts town, suddenly reappearing after a year in a classroom in their high school. And it turns out that they have been dead And the book is about them trying very hard to stay alive, having to learn magic, which is involved in how they died. And it's about the other people in the town. It's from many different points of view, mostly from the points of view of those teenagers, but also from the points of view of other people who live in that town or who are involved in the reasons why they disappeared.
And what I love about it is each chapter title is presented as the book of Daniel, the book of Laura, and gives you their current window into how the story is unfolding. So it really is awesome. It's cinematic in its scope. And I hate to say that, when you're reading a book, you imagine it as a movie, but maybe it's just so stimulating in the brain that you see all these visuals with it.
Oh, yeah. It's a highly visual novel.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how a movie of this would get made. But one thing that I thought was really lovely about it is, there is that distance between, writing short fiction and writing something longer. And I wonder, especially having read your short fiction, which I adore, if there was any worry about losing or your voice altering on the page in expanding the form that you were working with.
I've been writing short stories now for over half of my life. And honestly, at a certain point, even when you're doing a kind of work that you love, you think, well, how could I change this up? What's something that I haven't gotten to do yet? And the novel for me, with Holly Black pushing from one side, you want to write a novel, and honestly, with the money from the MacArthur grant, which is really a kind of gift that gives you time to do something maybe that you haven't thought about doing previously. And just an aside, we bought the bookstore because of the MacArthur grant, but also I got to write a novel because of that grant. So one of the things that you don't get to do when you're writing short fiction, you can have setting, but you can't have setting to the extent that you can in a novel. You can have multiple characters, but with a novel, you have as much space as you can create for setting and for character, as long as you're doing some work to make sure that the reader is willing to go along with you.
And it's really easy to go along with you. This book is highly consumable. If I wasn't such a slow reader, it would have already been done. And it is long. It's 640 something pages. But it doesn't feel long. It is real. It's rapid and fast paced. And we're speaking to the author of the new book, The Book of Love, Kelly Link, who also is a bookstore owner on Cottage Street in Easthampton. And we have mentioned that you've got that MacArthur Fellowship that's helped to make this happen, and the genius seems to continue. The reviews of this book have been spectacular. NPR's review says The Book of Love is, simply put, a magical, confusing, heartfelt, strange, wonderfully written novel that delivers everything fans of Link's short fiction expected, while also packing a few surprises. The New York Times review of this is about as good a review as one could possibly hope for, and to me, all totally well-deserved. But it takes place in Love's End, Massachusetts, which in your book is a coastal town. How much of Western Mass in your imaginary Massachusetts town makes its way into your fiction, The Book of Love, Kelly Link?
To be honest, this is a book which is Northampton, Easthampton, the hill towns, Amherst. It's kind of the valley. If you put the valley next to the ocean,
which with global warming, we're working really hard to make happen.
We're going to be there eventually.
And, it would be bad, but I would love being near the beach.
Aspirational.
I grew up near the ocean. I grew up in Miami. My husband grew up near the coast in Scotland, and I think both of us find it a little sad that we are landlocked. And so this was, in some way, the more than the magic in the book, imagining a town next to the ocean was magic for me.
It's magic to be there. One of the things that comes up a lot in the book is music, and there's a band. The main characters are in a band that plays on the characters' names. My two hands. My two hands.
My two hands both know you.
Both know you, and hand and know are names of the characters. Were you ever in a band? Because I think you write the dynamic of being in a band relationship really well.
Well, thank you. No, I was. I've never been in a band. The closest I've come is hanging out with other writers and talking about their projects. Occasionally, co-writing the way that you did, Khalees, which that kind of collaborative feeling is so fabulous, and you don't have it very often when you're a writer. And I had a couple of friends who are musicians or who have been in bands or are in bands read the book because I was doing a lot of stuff that I felt extremely nervous about. And honestly, I'm writing about teenagers. I am no longer a teenager. I am writing about music, and I am writing about music from the point of view of somebody who loves music but doesn't make it, except in the way that we all make music when we sing along to the radio or when we are performing karaoke, or when you're singing a song to your dog, which I do all the time.
We're speaking with Kelly Link, whose new book, The Book of Love, was just released this week.
No.
Okay. Well, this is
my brain is frozen.
Wanted to give an opportunity for Khalees to get a question in if she wants one. You did talk.
I mean, what I want to ask is specific things about characters, but we should ask more about your bookstore, which I think is an absolutely lovely spot. It's in a fantastic spot in the middle of Easthampton. Tell us about the opening of Book Moon that the Genius Grant, that the MacArthur Grant allowed you to do.
My husband and I met working in a bookstore in Boston. My husband proposed to me in the window display of that bookstore. We loved working in a bookstore when we were in our 20s, and so maybe 4.5 years ago, White Square Books came up for sale. The owner, Eileen, was tired, as everybody who works retail hits a point where they think, I don't want to do retail anymore. And so she was offering it for sale. And because of the MacArthur, we were able to make an offer. And we didn't know what it would be like to come back to bookselling after 25 years away from it. But Gavin and I did know that we really love working together in a bookstore. And that's still true. The thing that we did not expect that sideswiped everybody, of course, was the pandemic. But Easthampton is a community that really wants a bookstore.
It sure does.
Yeah, and we are so grateful for that. We are really happy to be the bookstore that community wants. And there are so many good bookstores in Western Mass that we don't have to be everything to everybody. We can carry the books that we love. We had a map made of all of the bookstores within a certain radius.
Whoa.
And so when you come to our store, we hand you this beautiful illustrated map with a list of all the other places that you could go. And in the same way that Easthampton was welcoming of Book Moon, we got a lot of fabulous advice from the people at Odyssey and from High Five, from Northampton bookstores. All the other bookstores were cheering us on. So that felt pretty fabulous.
I can't wait to get that map, first of all. I love maps in general, but the map of bookstores in the area is great. And
it sounds like another band that you're a part of. Like you have a writing band, and then now you have a bookstore band. And we'll see what the next one brings up.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all part of overlapping circles of community. And I love my communities. They're fabulous.
We're speaking with Kelly Link, whose new book is The Book of Love, out in stores just this week, including her own store, Book Moon, on Cottage Street in Easthampton.
So the grant allowed you time to and space to do the novel and the bookstore. Are there other projects that haven't quite come to fruition that it is also allowing you to do that we'll see in the future?
The period of the grant is now over, which is tragic, but all good things come to an end. And I've started a middle grade, which will be set in Westhampton.
Aha.
And I'm going to write a very short ghost story novel next. And I had all that time and space because of the MacArthur to think about those projects and to make some headway with them.
This book, The Book of Love, is magical. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of ghost-esque characters in it as well. And you've been quoted as saying that you wanted to be inspired by things that you like gothic and romance novels, as well as TV shows like The Vampire Diaries. And I think your nice quote that I saw was wild, improbable, high-speed fun / punch you in the gut of a CW teenage drama. But this is just where my own headspace is right now. I open up the first pages of the book, and there is a girl who's missing, whose name is Laura Hand. And immediately I go, Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer. Was that an intentional name? Laura Hand, Laura Palmer?
It was not, but I'm sure that it was subconscious, right?
Okay.
I was in college when that show was coming out. I didn't even watch all of the first series. And so during maybe last year, I was still catching up on all this TV. And I watched every single thing that was Twin Peaks that I could and just loved it. And I thought, why didn't I watch this all the first time around? And honestly, it's because I was in college and TV. I didn't have a TV,
Too
and
busy
then I just
learning.
never got back to it.
Well, I'm glad it made its way into it somehow, even subconsciously.
So the book is definitely about magic, but I think in equal parts it is about grief and the grieving process. You have this quote, like this simple sentence that immediately struck me, where it says, "Magic like grief could come welling up." Why did you decide to tie those two concepts together? This is a terrible question to end on, but I'm really curious.
No, it's a good question. I think because there's certain kinds of emotion, love, horror, grief, that sometimes feel to us like they come out of nowhere and they feel so huge that it feels almost like a catastrophe or a wish is being granted. And if I'm trying to get my readers to go along with me about what magic might be, that not only is grief analogous to magic for me, it also, I think it opens that door for understanding what magic might feel like.
It's amazing. It's a wonderful book. It's called The Book of Love. It's just out this week. From our MacArthur Fellow in the Valley, who's a genius, who spent some of that genius money to open a beautiful bookstore on Cottage Street in Easthampton.
At which you can get this book signed on Saturday.
Yeah, tomorrow, 3 to 5, and meet Kelly Link with cookies. What kind of cookies are we going to have there, Kelly Link? Do we know?
I actually need to go out and get the cookies. The baker, for excellent reasons, cannot bring the cookies, but I will have some good cookies that are going to come from somewhere.
Somewhere magical.
Somewhere magical.
That's right.
Kelly Link, thank you so much.
Thank y'all. This was fabulous, and it's great to see your faces.
It's great to see yours, too.
Later in the show, Live Music Friday with Sopie Et Adam playing at 33 Hawley in Northampton tonight.
Up next, a new contender enters the Wine Thunderdome, and they're bringing weird chips. We'll talk with Lauren and Miranda at the brand new Tip Top Wine Shop in Easthampton.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We have a new contender in the Tina Turner Memorial Wine Thunderdome. What's your name?
Miranda Brown. Lauren Clark.
2 wine shop owners enter.
No.
We're not going to make you two fight.
No.
We're going to make your wines fight. But this is one of the brand new fun wine shops going in the 413 Tip Top Wine Shop.
Conveniently next door to my practice space.
Yeah, Khaleesi's band practice is right here. It's right near daily operation. It is in Easthampton. What's the name of this?
This is Arts and Industry, right? It's Keystone.
Oh no, Paragon.
Paragon.
There's like 5 of them in a row, and everyone thinks the whole thing is Eastworks, and that's just not the case. But knowing the other names of the buildings is gets a little into the weeds.
Say the Pleasant Street Mills.
Pleasant Street Mill. If you go on that road that runs like all along them, you'll find this brand new-ish wine store. When did you guys open?
Beginning in November.
Yeah, so you're pretty new here.
Yes.
Tell us about the vision, why you wanted to open a wine shop like Tip Top here in Easthampton, Lauren.
there was no wine shop in Easthampton.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
So, having lived here for 12 years, and that's accurate.
The classic market opportunity. Plus, we like wine, and we didn't want to drive to another town to buy wine, so we opened a shop. Now we can get wine very easily.
You come from a wine background, right?
A little bit. Miranda and I are both kind of more adjacent to wine. I've been a cocktail blogger. I've been a brewer. I've been an author of a beer book. I worked for an importer of aperitif wines.
Right, which is where we met a long time ago.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it's we've been not smack in the middle of the wine world, but kind of close to it. And we love drinking wine.
And Miranda, who's with a customer right now, also is involved in the fine food and wine industry, having worked with Coco, right? Here she comes back. You worked with Coco, right?
Yes, I was the pastry chef there for about 7 years.
So tell me about your relationship to wine.
A lot of the people that ran Coco didn't drink, so I was the sitter-downer with the wine reps when they would come in.
Don't you love when that happens?
Yes, I sincerely.
That's how I ended up being the wine buyer for my last kitchen job, literally.
Unlike me, who went way out of my way to incorporate this into my daily life and my weekly radio show for many years now. So what have the people of Easthampton and beyond been coming in and excited about here at this new wine shop, Tip Top?
The potato chips.
Let's talk.
Why?
I know. Let's talk about the potato chips for a minute here. Tell us about your potato chip vision.
So I was in Japan about 15 years ago, and I went into a convenience store, and they had fried chicken flavored potato chips. And it literally blew my mind. I was like, you can just make potato chips taste like anything you want to? Like, why aren't we doing that in America? So it became a kind of hobby / passion of mine to just buy as many weird chips as possible. So when we opened the wine shop, we were thinking of like little things we could pick up for people to just kind of buy on their way out the door. And I was like, oh, maybe other people will like weird potato chips. And it turns out that they really, really do. And it's become its own little thing.
You have what looks like a display of 12 bags of weird potato chips. I may end up leaving with some or all of those chips, because my family also loves weird chips.
We're going to open a bag of chips for the tasting.
Ooh, all right.
Also, shout out to how awesome Japanese convenience stores are on the whole. Like, the things that they do and the things that they carry are amazing.
And if you are not in Easthampton coming to Tip Top to get your potato chips that are maybe off the American beaten paths palette, shout out to Trans World Market on Route 9 in Hadley, which was inspirational to you.
Yeah, absolutely. We get chips from there from time to time, and they've been super great and super helpful.
And there is one convenience store in Sunderland that has all dressed chips just like Canadian chip consumers love. So
I refuse to give out my sources.
this is technically a wine Thunderdome, not a chip Thunderdome.
Although you might be planning one of those for March, it seems like.
Yes, considering a Munch Madness NCAA style bracket snack off.
Oh my God.
TBD on that one.
Keep us in the loop.
French onion soup flavored chips?
Baked cheese.
Just baked cheese.
Baked cheese flavored chips.
Yes.
And these are Lay's potato chips, but from Japan?
Taiwan.
Taiwan,
Yeah, this
okay.
is Chinese.
Okay, so should we have a chip first? Should we have the wine first? What are we doing?
The wine first.
It is a wine shop, Tip Top.
Wreck our palates after we've had a couple sips.
I can't wait. So what's the first wine we're tasting?
Well, we have two Austrian wines. The first one is called Puch de Libre, and it's made mostly of Zweigelt, which is a lighter grape, produces a beautiful, juicy, playful, chillable red.
What's the second one?
The second one is Judith Beck out, and that is a Zweigelt Blaufränkisch blend. And she's a great natural winemaker from Austria, does a lot of minimal intervention, great wines. They're delicious.
Nice. So this is like the Schwarzenegger wine Thunderdome right here.
It is, yes.
What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
I wish I had a good Arnold impersonation for you, but I don't have it.
Nope. I was just waiting for yours to show up.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to insert actual Arnold here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Get to the chopper! It's not a tumor.
Although he was funny in the Super Bowl.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Cut. Hey, Arnold, I'm hearing neighbor. It's neighbor.
That's what I said. Neighbor.
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 Austria is a region that we're starting to see a lot more of and people are becoming more aware of, I feel like. What are some characteristics that you generally see in the region?
What I really like about Austrian wine, I feel like there is a tension to Austrian wine that as a very anxious person, I relate to on a cellular level.
Right. It has nothing to do with the historical traumas that have exhibited in Austria.
Well, we went to theirs.
Immediately I go there. I go right to the Sound of Music whenever I think of Austria. Anti-fascist, Nazi hater, Captain Von Trapp rip up a Nazi flag. That's Austria to me.
What's going to happen is going to happen. Just make sure it doesn't happen to you. Max, don't you ever say that again. You must help it.
Okay.
I want nuns to disassemble your car so that you can't escape. Okay, anyway, which one should we try first?
We're going to try the Push de Libre. It's a little bit lighter of the two.
All right. Ooh, there's a high fruit, I would call it in my mind.
A little funk.
But there's like a bright cherry.
Mm-hmm. It smells light.
And it looks light. It's Pinot Noir-esque in its color.
I get a lot of cranberry off of this.
Oh,
guy.
yeah. This is really nice. We're not allowed to talk about prices specifically on public radio, but one of the ethoses behind this store is providing a bunch of wines that are affordable. I do notice that you have a Steely Dan theme here, too, where you have a whole Hey 19 and under section.
Yes, it's true. And
I know. That was the first thing I noticed when I walked
a
in.
giant foam core Donald Fagen head.
Yeah. At first I thought it was Gene Simmons, and I was like, that's not Gene Simmons.
That's a common question, actually.
Why Donald Fagen? Why Steely Dan?
We just love Steely Dan.
My son goes to Bard, so there you go. Steely Dan's alma mater.
On first sip, this almost seemed effervescent.
Absolutely. That is a correct thing to pick up.
It's not sweet, but it is very refreshing. Tiny little light chill on this, which you should do to all your reds anyway, I would say.
Yeah, very chillable, very crushable.
Yeah. Inaugural visit to Tip Top Wine Shop in Easthampton, a brand newish wine store. Wine number 1,
Push de Libre.
Zweigelt. Hey! If it isn't P.L. Williams from Northampton Open Media. Hey, pal. We're doing a show. What are you doing, just getting wine?
Yeah, just getting wine. And I'm a fan of wine.
He's not a plant. He just showed up.
How you doing, Monty?
Good, you?
Nice to see you here.
Somebody's at the door. I wonder who it could be.
This is my first time here, actually.
It's ours, too.
I've been meaning to come here. I'm a longtime Provisions customer and want to check out the new space.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Spread the love.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking for
We
some...
public media people. Well, you're not technically public, but you're open. We're open media.
We're open media. We're public media. We're not the gatekeeping public media.
All right, then.
Funded by cable.
I know, right? Funded by cable TV. It's great.
Want to drink with us?
We might need a tiebreaker, so it's safer if you say yes.
We're tasting a Zweigelt from Austria. That's the first one. We do a wine Thunderdome where we're not really going to say this one's...
Listen to our show.
Do you even listen? You've been on it. How many times have you been on the show?
Once.
Only once? All right.
You know, being on your show was actually tremendous. A lot of people came to the event we talked about on your show. It was the biggest turnout we've had, and a lot of people told me it's because they heard us on the show.
Here's $5. What's your take on the Zweigelt, P.L. Williams?
It's nice. It's elegant. It's got a lot of acid. Has good structure. It's quality wine.
What's the second one we're going to taste here, Lauren?
Out by Judith Beck.
And so this is another Austrian one, right?
Yes.
Is it Blaufränkisch?
Mostly Blaufränkisch, yep.
It already smells heavier in glass.
This one is way darker. This one is perfumey.
This one has a little more funk to it, a little more barnyard. Not too much.
Yeah, but like mushroom composty.
Yep. And chocolate. Blaufränkisch. Frau Brücher.
I am Frau Blücher.
Every time I hear Blaufränkisch, I think of that scene from Young Frankenstein, wherever they say Frau Blücher, and then the horse neighs for no reason. When I was a kid, the myth was that was how you said glue in German, but it turns out not to be true. It's just a funny ongoing joke that she just sounds like somebody that's going to scare the horses.
Yes.
And you're spooking me.
I found out today by the blog that I showed you that you don't say that like you would trust somebody with your life in German. You say I would go steal horses with them. I just fell down one of those rabbit holes where I'm like, wow, German is fascinating.
Yeah.
German has a word for literally everything. Well, not literally everything, but you can probably portmanteau German into whatever you happen to need, which is how we also found out that there's a word for making yourself throw up between parties so you don't black out.
It's called taktische Zwischenkotze.
There's a word for the feeling you have on Sundays when you know you have to go back to work on Monday.
Sonntagsleerung. It translates to Sunday emptiness.
This is me.
There's a word for the joy you feel being alone in the woods.
Waldeinsamkeit, which means forest solitude.
All right, the Blau Fränkisch.
Blucher!
Wine number 2. Do we got any for you there? For P.L. Williams from Northampton Open Media here in Easthampton. Tip-top bottle shop, brand newish, Blau Fränkisch.
Like immediately more tannic than the other one, like way more structured.
Right? Not as big fruit on the palate, but I do like the tannins. If you didn't know this, Tip Top is making a name for itself in, let's call it boutique potato chips.
Oh, I think I'd heard that. I saw it on Instagram, perhaps, on your account.
This is baked cheese, I believe, from Taiwan. Here, you can have the first one. We haven't, neither of us have had these.
What an honor. Thank you.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I definitely taste the cheese.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't taste unlike other chips I've ever had. It's not like so off the pale that you don't recognize it, but
It's subtler than the cheese chips you get from here. A little oniony.
actually goes pretty well with the
It
Blau
softens
Fränkisch.
this
It actually
immediately.
does go pretty
Yeah.
well.
It softens this immediately.
What's the your go-to right now? Like the one you're most proud that you brought to the store?
Like all time or what we have in store at the moment?
Both.
I would say right now my favorite is the smoked pork rib.
Oh my God.
I think there's one of those left. Those have been going hard. We do have a spicy horse meat sandwich one from time to time.
My God.
I'm
Delicious, and we won't have to get into why I know that.
Frau Bruja.
The second one goes with those chips so much better.
Oh yeah.
Like the chips blow the first one like out of whack.
All right. So what happens in the Wine Thunderdome, and this is our inaugural visit at Tip Top Wine Shop with Lauren and Miranda, who just opened this shop in Easthampton in November. We vote. It doesn't mean it's a better wine. It doesn't mean the other wine is not good. It just means like right now, what wine do you want to take home with you today? P.L. Williams from Northampton Open Media.
I'm going with the Blau Fränkisch.
Miranda's vote.
I'm going Judith Beck.
That's 2 for Judith Beck. Lauren?
I'm a little partial to the Pouche de Libre, I have to say.
I am also Pouche de Libre.
That means I am the tiebreaker.
I just need a little lightness in this time of dark, and you know, I'm a sucker for a good porch drinker.
This is a tough decision.
Make it easy. My brain is already taxed.
I think a lot of what Khalees said about this tough time of year, also the introduction of like Lay's potato chips from Taiwan, is putting me in like a fun, hell be damned, throw caution to the wind kind of mode. So I am going with the Pouche de Libre as well, with that fun kind of soda-y, light, fresh feel. And that is our winner for this first
Klaus.
Wine Thunderdome here at Tip Top Wine Shop.
Again, both are great. I would be really curious what the out tastes like in like a day.
And I'm really curious about your chip. Munch madness happening in here.
That's the pork thing.
I have really bad news for you. A customer just came in about the last.
Like literally while we were doing this right now?
No, it's okay.
I was going to buy that one for us to share, and then I was going to buy the rest.
wine. It's okay. Everybody wins. Life is full of ups and downs.
I hope your first trip to Tip Top Wine Shop, P.L. Williams, was good. Every time you come in here, we'll be here now.
This is really quite a welcome, and I wasn't expecting it. I'm very surprised. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Looks like an amazing place. I'm going to shop around right now.
Great. Thank you so much.
Here's another $5.
We don't need another beat. Why is this version back?
Tip Top Wine Shop is an underwriter of NEPM. However, we spent our own cash money on things there. I bought 9 bags of little potato chips and gave them to my children as a Valentine's gift. Yes. And I said, but we all must open these bags at the same time and test them. And so the first one we opened was spicy duck tongue potato chips, which they did not like. And I thought were good, but a little sweet. But then I brought them for Khalees to taste them,
because
too.
They're just mala flavored chips, and mala is a quality in China that is spicy and numbing. So I thought that they were delicious.
Yeah, they were delicious, but only for like 3 or 4, and then they felt too sweet.
Oh, no,
for me.
I ate
But
that
I can't wait to try the scallops ones that I have at home.
I ate that whole bag. It's Live Music Friday, and up next, we welcome the duo Sopie Et Adam, who are playing at 33 Hawley in Northampton tonight.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, offering solar options, energy security, and solutions for the local community. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. It is Live Music Friday, and we are joined by Sopie Et Adam, a duo inspired by many singing traditions that they've crossed paths with on their musical journey. Pub songs from England, cabaret chanson from 1940s Paris, 18th century sacred harp singing, milongas from Argentina, Scottish ballads, and singer-songwriter repertoire from Chile, and more.
Regardless of the origin or the time period, they share music that moves them with their audiences. Individually, they collaborate musically with some of the most vibrant ensembles in New England. The Boston Symphony Orchestra, Boston Early Music Festival, the Lorelei Ensemble, A Far Cry, Blue Heron, Harvard University, the Trinity Church of Boston, etc., etc., etc. But as a duo, they create a warm and intimate moment in which time stops and music from around the world speaks.
They were Boston-based, but they have moved out here to the Fabulous 413. They're
Welcome
also
to the West.
the driving force behind Tiny Glass Tavern, which the architect of our newsletter that goes out, Culture To Do, Carrie Larson, was like, you got to check out this band, Tiny Glass Tavern. And so we're really excited to have the duo that are part of Tiny Glass Tavern, Sopie Et Adam, who are playing tonight, 7:30, Northampton Center for the Arts at 33 Hawley, with us for Live Music Friday. Take it away, Sopie Et Adam.
This is a song that was made famous by Edith Piaf. Sous le ciel de Paris s'envole une chanson. Elle est née d'aujourd'hui dans le cœur d'un garçon. Sous le ciel de Paris marchent les amoureux. Leur bonheur se construit sur un air fait pour eux. Sous le pont de Bercy, un philosophe assis, deux musiciens, quelques badauds puis des gens par milliers. Sous le ciel de Paris jusqu'au soir vont chanter l'hymne d'un peuple épris de sa vieille cité. Près de Notre-Dame, parfois coule un drame. Oui, mais à Paname, tout peut s'arranger. Quelques rayons du ciel d'été, l'accordéon d'un marinier, l'espoir fleurit au ciel de Paris. Sous le ciel de Paris coule un fleuve joyeux. Il endort dans la nuit les clochards et les gueux. Sous le ciel de Paris les oiseaux du bon Dieu viennent du monde entier pour bavarder entre eux. Mais le ciel de Paris a son secret pour lui. Depuis 20 siècles, il était près de notre île Saint-Louis. Et quand elle lui sourit, il met son habit bleu. Quand il pleut sur Paris, c'est qu'il est malheureux. Quand il est trop jaloux de ses millions d'amants, il fait gronder sur eux son tonnerre éclatant. Mais le ciel de Paris n'est pas longtemps cruel.
I'm a sucker for a good modulation. I love that. It always is so stunning whenever that happens.
Right?
It works every time.
It does. Sophie Michelle.
It does not for everybody. So when it's pulled off well, it's awesome.
Yes, and that was pulled off well. Sophie Michelle and Adam Simon, who are Sopie Et Adam, the duo that are part of Tiny Glass Tavern, but the duo playing tonight, February 16th, 7:30, Northampton Center for the Arts at 33 Hawley.
When you're working as a duo as opposed to your larger ensemble, I mean, like, and it is a kind of large ensemble. It looks like you're working with like 6 to 9 people every time that you get Tiny Glass Tavern out. How do you build your programs? What's different that you consider?
Yeah, it's one of the really great things with Tiny Glass Tavern is that for every program we get to work with different musicians who are all very eclectic musicians, but all in some way specialist in one particular style or the other. So every concert has a different constellation of musicians, if that's the right way to talk about it. Sometimes it's just a quartet. Sometimes we had 10 musicians for our very last project in November with a harpsichord and string quartet.
Yeah,
and,
like a real harpsichord.
A real harpsichord.
What's that giant instrument that person plays? I saw it looks like an oud, but it looks like 15 times the size of a normal oud.
I think you're talking about the theorbo. The theorbo, which is it was a very popular instrument in the 17th century in Italy and France.
It's crazy looking and amazing.
I know, and
Which
it's
is
like
probably why it was popular.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it functioned essentially as a lute and a double bass in one instrument.
Wow.
But basically, yeah, and we sometimes we have musicians, well, the theorbo player actually is also a banjo player, so sometimes we get to integrate on top of early music, we have some Americana and some other sorts of things. And basically the idea of Tiny Glass Tavern is that we love to share a variety of different styles that we think shine best, maybe, in contrast with each other. So we have some early music from the 17th century, some earlier music still from the Renaissance, medieval eras, but we also do 19th century art song, and then sometimes we do 1940s French chanson, like we just heard, or even new music that was written sometimes finished a week before we performed it. So there's a little bit of a mix of things. And the idea is just a lot of different colors because the different colors really make all the different styles shine. So that's the idea of Tiny Glass Tavern. Yeah.
And your background, Sophie, you were born in London, raised in the Alps, but then were Boston-based and are now here in Western Mass. Adam, tell us about your musical background. What kind of parts of your palette get brought to either the duo or the Tiny Glass?
Sure, yeah. Well, I should clarify before we talked. Sophie is actually the artistic and musical director of Tiny Glass Tavern. I am but a side driving force, if you will. But I'm also a composer and a singer and multi-instrumentalist. And being married to Sophie, I'm lucky enough to kind of be helpful in any way that I can for any of the programs. So sometimes it's playing a lot of instruments, singing. Sometimes it's composing. I think I've written something new for every single concert we've done, or at least put together a new arrangement of a piece that I have written. And it's really fun because we get to work with, as you've pointed out, totally wild instrumentation. So for the program, for the last program, I wrote a new arrangement specifically for that bizarre ensemble with theorbo and
piano
strings
and
piano
whistle
and harpsichord at the same time, which is really fun and weird, and an Irish whistle. Yeah. So I kind of take it as a challenge of whatever wild and fun idea Sophie has, I get to go, okay, let's do something with that.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
The duo is Sopie Et Adam, and they're playing 33 Hawley in Northampton tonight, Sophie Michelle and Adam Simon. We're going to hear more from them coming up in just a little bit this Live Music Friday.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. It's Live Music Friday, and playing tonight in Northampton at the Northampton Center for the Arts at 33 Hawley is Sopie Et Adam, and they're going to play another one for us right now.
Yay!
Hey, small sweetie, why have you killed my heart? I kept you in a cage, I kept you in a cage. Like a May nightingale, I kept you in a cage and fed you with a sugar. I fed you with a sugar, yes I did. As if it were
Sopie and Adam playing tonight as a duo, 7:30 Northampton Center for the Arts at 33 Hawley in Northampton. Your music is so beautiful, and I can't wait to see the entire ensemble of Tiny Glass Tavern.
I know. I'm really curious about this program that was supposed to be happening instead of the duo, but due to COVID and protocols, is no longer happening at this time, but will be happening later. Because like anything with Saints, I'm always like, oh, hey, what's happening over there? So curious what music you're putting together for that program.
Yeah, that's going to be a cool project of all new music, setting the real and mythologized lives of the saints, and it's really it's not a particularly Christian show per se. I mean, of course, the saints are the Christian saints, but it's the idea of what are these wild stories that still live on, and how do we live our lives still thinking of that. St. Valentine, St. Patrick, St. Cecilia, St. Genevieve, and all these kinds of things. We're looking forward to putting this program back together in June, we think.
And all the pieces on that program are written by members of the ensemble, at least that manifestation of the ensemble. So myself, Fiona Gillespie, Paul Holmes Morton, and Doug Balliot, all four of us have written an entire program of saint songs.
And it's all new music inspired by Baroque, pop music, folk music. It's a real wild mix of styles that I think really brings all these stories to life in a really fun way. So hope to see you all in June for that.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear it. And we're glad that you're in our backyard now, living here in the 413. Let's do our farewells, and then we'll hear one more to play us out, I think, this Live Music Friday. Next week on the Fabulous 413, we're checking out a whale in Amherst.
We're also checking in on our trans friends with photographer Jesse Frieden.
We'll learn about seasonal festivities with the Nolambika Project's Full Snow Moon Gathering.
We'll celebrate the 50th anniversary of Sam Lovejoy taking totally punk political action.
And speaking of punk rock, Live Music Friday next Friday will be very different when we rock out with the punk duo Film and Gender. But we leave you this afternoon with the duo playing at the Northampton Center for the Arts at 33 Hawley tonight, Sopie Et Adam.
This is a sweet song by Bayard Rustin, who was an incredible tenor and civil rights activist, and he learned to play the lute in prison when he was arrested for his activism, and this is his song. I saw her as I came and went. I saw her queenly, meek and mild, as innocent as any child. A flower among her flowers, content. I come again, and in her place a silence and a vacant room, and in my heart a sudden gloom that I no more shall see her face. There was a word I might have said, but what it was I hardly know. I let the days glide by and lo, I now must say to the dead.
Woo! That was so wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.